Good morning. Thank you, Your Excellencies, honored guests, for sticking around. So about 20 years ago, I became the CTO of Amazon. But I almost didn't join Amazon, because I was an academic before that, and when Amazon approached me, I thought, Amazon? It's a bookshop. You know, a web server and a database. How hard can that be? I did take the invitation to come and give a talk there, and one glimpse in that kitchen, the technology kitchen, and I was completely blown away. Because Amazon was a company that had to invent everything from scratch. You have to think about that. In 1994, the word e-commerce didn't exist yet. The technology to support a website, something like what Shopify does today, didn't exist. Everything that needed to happen at Amazon was something that they had to invent by themselves. There was no commercial technology that you could buy. And if you've been, hopefully many in the room here, have been over the past 30 years an Amazon customer, someone who hasn't been, can I talk to you later? But you've been using AI for the past 30 years. You just didn't call it AI. Yeah, if you think about all the things that Amazon has pioneered, whether it's recommendations, similarities, customers who bought X, bought Y, all these kind of things are AI. It's just, for our consumers, it didn't look like that. It's just functionality of an e-commerce website. And definitely Amazon pioneered all these kind of things. If you just looked at all the different areas where over the past 30 years we've been introducing and using machine learning or artificial intelligence, you can see that it's in all the different areas. And it's not just in the consumer engaging part where we help customers make buying decisions, but everything in the back end, from supply chain to fraud detection, all these different areas are driven by artificial intelligence. Now, I love this quote from McCarthy. McCarthy and Minsky were two of the people that in 1956 ran a workshop in Dartmouth where for the first time they coined the term artificial intelligence. McCarthy, this quote says, and I think it's brilliant, as soon as it works, we don't call it AI anymore. Now, for the past 30 years, if you've been using Amazon, you've been using AI, you just don't call it like that. Now, the term AI, suddenly in the headlines, was arriving about 2 years ago, when the first large language models came out and became available for people to use through chatbots. But what I want to talk to you about is, a little bit about modern AI, but also show you how a company like Amazon was built using artificial intelligence. Now, one of the first areas, of course, and it's the most obvious one, is that of the consumer engagement. How do customers find their products that they're looking for on Amazon beyond just simple search? Yeah? And you have to imagine that the numbers are staggering. Yeah? There's well over 400 million products in our catalog, easily. Well over 200 million Prime users, and we sell about, literally thousands and thousands of products on a single marketplace every minute. Now, how do customers find their products? Because that's the most important thing. You have to remember, with so many products in your catalog, the tyranny of choice is around the corner. And what does the tyranny of choice say? The paradox of choice, tyranny of choice, is that, imagine you go to your pharmacy and you want to buy some toothpaste. And there's only 3 different choices. You probably pick the one that you always choose, and you're happy with that choice. If you now walk into the pharmacy, there's probably 50 different types of toothpaste. You still probably will pick the same toothpaste, but there will be this nagging thing in your head, given the enormous amount of choice. Is this the right choice? So the more choice there is, the unhappier people become with that choice. So one of the main goals of helping customers find what they're looking for is to make sure that you service those things that are most relevant to them immediately, to make sure that they also feel that the buying decision that they made is a positive one, not a negative one. And so, with lots of innovation in the space, you can now do visual product search. We make sure that the reviews are actually truly reviews of people that actually read the book or have actually bought this product, and it's actually a fundamental one. There is an enormous amount of gaming going on in that particular world that we need to put an enormous stop to, an effort to. We use AI in that world as well. And of course, most of the buying decisions people have made is because of the recommendation algorithm. Yeah. Now, if we started off in the earlier days, our recommendation mechanism was purely just statistical. Yeah, looking for patterns in a relatively large data set. And mostly also, it looked towards the past, not necessarily at this particular moment. Now, in 2014, we started experimenting with neural networks, and we were able to actually automate this whole process over many more dimensions than we could do before. And we immediately saw a 15 to 20% uptick in effectiveness for our customers, whether we were actually recommending them things that they were looking for. Now, these days, with using large language models, we're able to build more conversational interfaces. Rufus is a large language model that is fine-tuned with shopping information. And as such, you can now have a conversation with it like, there's next week I have this party for these teenagers at my home. What are the kind of things, what are the kind of fun games they would like to play with? Yeah? And helping you look for products in a much more conversational manner. Yeah, and we all know that's sort of the modern way of using this. A massive problem for protecting our customers is actually avoiding them. It's actually making sure that there are no counterfeit goods in our system. Yeah? Just in last year alone, we eliminated more than 15 million product listings that were counterfeit goods. And not only that, the same goes for financial transactions. We have a very large model based on the billions and billions of orders that we sit from the past, that when a new transaction comes in, we can actually score it what the likelihood is that this is also a fraudulent order. Now, that doesn't mean that we automatically reject the order. We will give that to an individual, an inspector, to investigate. Yeah? AI makes predictions. We as humans still make the decisions. Now, all the fraud protection, there's a massive system these days for looking at sort of when reviews are coming in, what the likelihood is that this is actually an accurate review. I remember one of the authors a number of years ago promised everybody a copy of his book if they would review it on Amazon. After the launch of the book, within an hour, we had 2,000 reviews of that book with 5 stars. Why? Nobody had read that book. They just wanted a copy of the book. Yeah? And so that's just a simple one. But fake reviews are a main issue because for customers, it is extremely important, the quality of the reviews, because it helps them make buying decisions. Now, that's the front side. That's where most of our customers are actually exposed to. But the bigger deal in reality is in the back end. What are the kind of things that we've been doing at Amazon in terms of the back end? Now, supply chain is massive, of course, for Amazon. And we've been using technology there for the past 30 years. Now, we literally ship billions and billions of packages. And that's just the shipping part. All the goods that we have in our warehouses, where do we place them? How do we can give those guarantees to our customers? Here in Dubai, we're really good. We've got 2 delivery slots, which is today before 6 o'clock and today before 11 o'clock. That's unique in the world. Believe me, there's almost no other country in the world where we can actually deliver goods that fast. But it's hard giving guarantees. Can we give those guarantees? Depends a bit where the products are. After all, if you look at the Amazon catalog here in the UAE, probably half of the catalog is what we have here in our fulfillment centers, but the other half actually is coming either from Europe or from the US. We make it clear to you. But how do you plan that? How do you make sure that you can give guarantees for products that need to come from Europe? Yeah, so 185 countries, probably is one of the biggest operations in the world in terms of that. Now, if you look at supply chain, there's these 4 different areas that are important. Yeah, one of them is forecasting, meaning like, what do we expect sales to be? What do we expect from these particular products? Then buying, meaning like, where do we source these products from? In what particular volume? Then, you know, where do we place them? 175 fulfillment centers around the world. In where do we place these products so that we can actually give guarantees on the delivery of it? Now let's look at a few of these. There's a complexity algorithm at work there, of course. Yeah? First of all, there's things like price elasticity. And especially in consumer electronics, this happens. You know, when a new series of a TV comes out, probably the vendor is going to drop the pricing on the old TVs, just maybe a few weeks ahead of introducing the new TV. That actually changes demand immediately. How can we operate with that? Speed of sale. I mean, whether do we know that this is a product that nobody really wants, or that's really a slow selling product? Like, you know, pickle tasting lip balm probably is not a hugely popular article. Should we keep it on stock or not at all? Yeah. And then things that, I mean, it's obviously that big woolen sweaters are not terribly popular here in the UAE. Yeah. However, there's other countries around the world where it's the dominant product that is being sold. So how do you incorporate all of these different areas? Not with one single algorithm. Yeah? Then, of course, there's things like, there's a new product coming on the market that has never been built before. How much do we want? Need of that? You know, or, you know, some things are only useful for one day. Because, for example, Halloween in the US, that's just one day. How do we make sure you have the right stock in place for that? Now, all of that is basically runs on some AI system. We have literally millions and millions of time series that come together to make these decisions for us. But some of these decisions, they're difficult to make because they have billion-dollar impact. These algorithms better work really well. And so if you look at sort of the forecasting things that we've went through over the different years, you can see that again in around 2014, 2015, we switched to neural networks. Mostly also driven by the fact that our scale is such that there is no one human that just has a complete view of the overall system. And then, so now these days there's also a usage with LLMs, but again, still, all of this is what I would call old-fashioned AI, just the AI that works. Yeah. Now, if you think about where to place these products and how to manage the products there, there's basically 3 actions that happen. You know, it's picking, getting the product from the warehouse where it is, sorting it, putting it together where it needs to go, and then transporting it. All of this is done by robots. And by the way, a robot is not something that does one task. That's just automation. A robot is something you can reprogram to do different tasks whenever needed. Now, if you think about, we have about 750,000 robots running around our fulfillment centers, doing these different tasks. Yeah? Absolutely crucial for safety in these fulfillment centers. There's a few ones here. Vision plays an extremely important role in the world of robotics because, after all, you deal with products and things like that. So vision is important. Prometheus is a robot that you can reprogram all the time. But you have to imagine that all these robots are autonomous. There is no human sitting there with a joystick to move these robots around the fulfillment centers. No, if there's tens of robots on the ground, they need to be able to work together, even if they don't have the same tasks. All of that is AI. Now, we've absolutely, given that we're one of the first ones to do this kind of massive work, we didn't really have the data sets to start off with. Data is crucial in the world of AI. AI is just a tool. It's all about the data. Underneath, don't have a good data set, no matter what AI you throw at it, it will not give you any better results. Garbage in means garbage out. Yeah. And so we mostly have been indeed putting vision on all of our robots to make sure we can create data sets on which we can train the next generation of our robots. Well, coming back to, going away a bit from the robots into the world of, we actually like to reduce the amount of packaging. Yeah, some of our packaging has been, how is this, the voice of cynicals, a big box with one little product in it. We all have received this, yeah? And I'm still embarrassed when it happens to me. Yeah. But so trying to remove the amount of packaging materials, some of them you can ship without packaging, but how do you decide on this? How do you decide for this particular product, especially one that's new, that you've never seen before, what is the right way of packaging it? Or multiple pieces in order together? Again, a deep learning model that actually really triggers and on the fly decides what kind of packaging is efficient, is the right thing to do for this particular product. Now, the product inspector is another one of those. Yeah? There are products that are just damaged. Damaged to the point that maybe there's some little box damage, maybe there's an expiration date on it, all these kind of things. You want to do that automatically. Vision, again, plays an increasingly important role in all of that. And by the way, not only with these boxes. Now, in Amazon Fresh, which is our grocery system, we're actually using the same technology to pick out spoiled strawberries from a bucket of strawberries. Yeah? In the past, if there would be a bucket of strawberries and would be one strawberry bad in it, you have to throw the whole bucket away. But now we've gone to a mechanism where you can pick out the individual ones and keep the spoiling to a minimum. Now then we get to the delivery part, which is actually pretty hard, because it can easily be about 50% of the overall fulfillment cost for a particular product. And so, a typical route may include 200 different stops. But you need to be able to actually change this on the fly. It's not that the delivery van leaves the fulfillment center and then already has all its routes figured out. No, we dynamically adapt these routes, including things like weather, traffic information, all these other kind of things that actually come together to create the dynamic route system for our drivers. Now, another area where we're using a lot of vision there is, for example, our full vehicle inspection systems. Basically, you drive the van in there, it takes, hundreds of images and photos, analyzes those, look at sort of the quality of the van, potential hazards, things like that. This is, by the way, technology that is also being used these days by quite a few of the car rental agencies. I know if you ever rented a car, you drive in, you go there, you need to inspect the car, people need to walk around it, and afterwards, when you return it, you do the same thing, and then you start to complain because they want to charge you for something. These systems will give you the ultimate truth. It will create one set of images when you leave, when you get the car, you get the exact same images when you lose the car, use AI to compare them. Or, how to actually, we have a vision-enabled system. These vans are full of products. How did you know which one to take? Well, now there's a lighting system inside that actually helps them pick out exactly. Now, you know all about drones. Now, drones are just drones are just a piece of hardware around a lot of AI. Whether it's vision, whether it's LiDAR, all of these different areas use it necessary to get the eye. If you look how we bring this AI technology outside of Amazon as well, we've built our just walk out shops, but we use technology there that's called Amazon One. Yeah, and it's palm scanning. It's basically an identification system where you don't have to touch anything. It's not like your fingerprints or anything like that. But your palm is just a unique identification as well. And this palm can be used for just, contactless checkouts and things like that, instead of having to use your digital devices. Ring is a subsidiary of ours that builds these security cameras and things like that for your door. You can do just the natural search in there. Kindle Scribe, I like this because I have a scribe that I use to take notes on. But my handwriting is horrific. Yeah? And I don't know, it's much worse on these digital tablets than it will be in my notebook at all. In my notebook, I make an effort to make it look good. Digitally, I don't. And why not? Because I do one push of the button, and the system turns it into something that is actually legible. Now, all of this we can only do because we built a massive infrastructure underneath there. And of course, the whole world started to realize that Amazon was a technology company the moment that we launched AWS, the cloud computing division. Now, we're very fortunate that, this is a cloud computing division that has anticipated all the AI work that was coming to them because Amazon was already using AI for 30 years. Yeah? And as such, we're a powerhouse in terms of delivery there. Now, there's two challenges in that particular world that I have to deal with. First and foremost, it is energy and cost. Now, you have to remember that a simple web query against an LLM easily takes 20 to 30 times more energy than a traditional web query. So when we build all these systems, we have to ask ourselves whether we can actually reduce cost to a point that it's actually acceptable, but also that we make sure that we're not depleting the world's resources at the same time while we're doing this massive innovation. So for AWS is that we had as a goal for 2025, I believe, to be 100% carbon neutral. We already reached that goal in 2023. We are the largest purchaser of renewable energy in the world. We have well over 600 projects going on in building wind farms and solar farms and other renewable energy projects. Yeah? So we're running 100% on renewable energy. That's the first thing to do. Then all the different energy-saving mechanisms in our data centers, whether that's around power, whether that's around water, whether it's around cooling, all these different areas. But most importantly, also the chips that we're running on, the silicon. Most of AI still runs on NVIDIA GPUs, but they're general purpose GPUs. Yeah? Can you build dedicated silicon to do both training and inference? Now, at this moment, training is still about 50% of the cost of operating, and about 30% goes to inference, and then 20% other stuff like data storage and stuff like that. Can we reduce the energy usage there significantly? And we've been able to do this. These are the second generations of our silicon that are widespread available on AWS. Easily energy consumption down 30%, cost down 50%. Running on these chips reduces your cost by 20 to 30 to 50% at times, including also the amount of energy used for it. In the future, inference will be way more important than training. And why is that? It's like with everything. Every digital system that you build, the time to build it is minimal compared to the time that you're going to run it. So inference and driving costs down of inference is crucial. Now, the other problem is that, the number of choices of models is overwhelming. There isn't a week that goes by that we see another 20 or 30 new models coming out, whether that's from the big players or smaller players, but there is an overwhelming one for it. And I urge all my customers to just experiment. Don't lock yourself into one of these models. Yeah? Is this really for this particular system you want to build? Do you really need to have a 700 billion parameter model, which is way more expensive and way more energy inefficient than maybe one of 5 billion. Experiment with these kind of things. And as such, we've been focusing on making sure that we have as many of these models available for our customers that they can experiment with. So our system called Bedrock is the environment where we make all these models available for everyone. So we're not locked into one particular vendor. You want to use Anthropic? You want to use Claude? You want to do DeepSeek? You want to do any of the Hugging Face models? All available on AWS. Most importantly also, and I think that's here in the region especially important, is that if you look at the major models from the US companies, these models are US-centric. They're English-centric. And of course, yeah, we know we can translate from Arabic into English, run the query, and then back and translate it back. But the models incorporate not just language. The models incorporate culture as well, because culture is deeply associated with the language and the kind of things that you've been training on. I always give the example that, which I've seen, if you use one of these bigger American models and you ask them for a review of a book by Isabella Allende, a famous Chilean author, you get a very different review, a very different summary than from a South American trained LLM. Now here in the region, has been one of the first open source models was created. Yeah, Falcon 3 was built on TII in Abu Dhabi together with AWS. But we now also have from Saudi models that actually train it on purely Arabic and Saudi texts. Sea Lion is from all the languages in Southeast Asia. There's now new models in Korea, in Japan, all these different areas. Most of those available either for SageMaker or for Bedrock. So you have a choice, not just in the top American models, but also in sort of models that may be more relevant for your particular region. Yeah, and so there's probably so many different dimensions on these choices. One of the things I really want you to keep in mind is the cost, because cost is significant in the differences between these particular models. Now, we really want to make sure that we can democratize access to builders for anyone that wants to build AI systems. We have a long history in this, so we know exactly how we can satisfy our customers that are looking for building AI systems themselves. Now, one particularly really crucial part is that when we launched these LLMs about 2 years ago, or whatever company did that, they forgot one thing, and it was to educate the general audience about what the capabilities actually were. It was amazing. This AI is going to take over the world. Yeah, governments immediately reacting with protectionism and different acts and things like that without ever being educated about it. So important is that we continue to educate ourselves about what the capabilities are and really sort of make sure that people get educated in the capabilities of these systems and make the right decisions. So we have 2 universities, we have ML at AWS, lots of courses there, completely free for everyone to use. And we're also working together with scholarship programs for many of the universities out there. So with that, I hope I have given you a little bit of a glimpse of what a company like Amazon does with AI. And to be honest, I only told you about 10%. I didn't tell you about Alexa, didn't tell you about all the key things we're doing in terms of coding, for example. It's easily to see that AI has, the traditional AI has completely permeated the complete business for the past 30 years. So I hope I've given you a little bit of insight in that. Now, it's time for you to go build. Thank you.